Hey friends, so today's episode, we did something a little different. We decided to take a pretty mainstream article in USA Today, which I believe had really good intentions, but definitely missed the mark on encouraging people to fight for their best health. So we dissect that a little bit today, and we want to bring you our perspective and that side of the truth. All right, we are back.
We back.
Harold.
Sam.
I'm Sam. You're Harold.
In case y'all confused. Some people do.
Oh, we are so corny.
You'd be a handsome Harold, though.
Oh, thank you. You'd be a very handsome Sam. Also, that could go both ways. Look at that.
100%. It works.
Oh my gosh. People are like, blah.
Tuned out.
These two. No, I'm excited. Today, we're doing something a little different.
What are we doing?
Today, we decided to
We duck, go.
And chose an article. I feel like, there's so much great information. But I think that's part of the problem today is that there is so much. There's this wealth of just stuff out there floating the internet. And so many people don't even know what's right, what's up or down. And it's very confusing.
This is disinformation.
Yeah. So disinformation. But, and first of all, I'm not going to say that we're the end all be all of knowledge either.
This is an opinion.
But this is an opinion, perspective, and
from a fitness expert's perspective.
We have
on a topic of health.
Our whole life, our adult life, started with centering our lives and helping other people live at their best health that they can live at.
Yeah.
So this is something that's really important to us, is always a foundation. It's a foundation of the Freedom Parents. Fitness is one of the key components of being a Freedom Parent.
Mm-hmm.
And we still love helping people get healthy and do that to this day. So I think it's really important for us to kind of just take a stand on some certain things. And, certainly USA Today has a bigger platform than us. But for those people that do listen to our podcast or follow us on social media, you know what? Here we are. We're going to make a little stand.
Well, I forget what I was searching for exactly. And that came up, this article. And it was actually the first one. I was like, yeah, I can debate that, And then I think I sent it to you and you were like, I think you were more fired up than me, actually. Like, this is good. Cause actually I was going to pivot. I was like, I think I want to talk about this. And you're like, oh no, there's a lot of good stuff in here that I'd love to debate.
Yeah.
For lack of a better word.
Well, for instance, starting with the title, everything you miss when you think weight loss is about willpower. And if you read the article, I'm like, what?
Is that title for that article?
Yes, it actually feels like everything you miss when you think weight loss is about equality they've done everything, but they've tied weight loss to discrimination, to anti-feminism, to I don't even know.
It's a hot mess.
It's a hot mess.
Yeah.
Nowhere's in here did they really actually cover willpower, which is actually
I was confused too.
More of a mental muscle that you strengthen and condition and not a birthright. Like, I'm kind of getting fired up.
It was almost like a bait and switch type of thing. Here's a topic. They baited you in, then they switched and they kind of vomited propaganda and bullcrap.
Yes.
And that's, I think, why we get angry about that.
Honestly, too, by the time I got to the end of this, I was like, if I did not know better, I might actually feel slightly ashamed or insecure about the fact that I do care about my physical health and I do care about the things I put in my body. I'm going to say perfect, but again, for those people that listen to us, they know my vantage point on perfection is just a perception. So that's all just in theory. Do I eat perfectly or whatever that perception in the world is? No. Do I have a shredded six-pack? No. But do I really care about my physical health?
You contend.
Yes. Yeah. But here's the thing. Did it once impact how I felt or how I valued myself, the exterior and the number on the scale? Absolutely. In my early 20s, it did.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how I view my health now, or I coach other people to view their health? Nope. No.
Right.
It's just more of a result of treating my body well. And in this article, they in no way, it's like they tried to go in that direction, saying that weight loss or health, really, they're absolutely kind of anti-weight loss, period,
Mm-hmm.
in this article. They're not for it. In fact, they state at one point that it's pretty much impossible
It's impossible
for people. I
So
don't
you-
know if I want to jump there right now, but they say, but I think change toward eating particularly focused on weight loss as the main outcome is just a boulder up the hill. And your body's going to fight you back on it. It wants to be at a certain weight and a certain size, and it's going to do what it can to stay there. But just before that, what preceded was they're talking about how 95% of the people who diet will gain their weight back. We'll just really talk about why the body would stop.
I love how you're fired up by this article.
Sorry.
Because I handed it to you, and I was like, I can get behind this because I think it needs to be addressed. And now I'm watching you, and I'm just like, yep, y'all done messed up now. What's the author's name?
Oh, Aaliyah E. Dastager.
Yeah, you done messed up.
Sorry.
Lisa, whatever.
Beautiful name. Beautiful.
Yep.
So actually, I think we need to talk about here. They're blaming diet. So first of all, this is always, we've been saying this
What you
since
looking at?
we were personal trainers, and I just wanted to make sure I confirmed it. So those of you watching, if people are watching on YouTube or online, I'm reading the actual definition. Okay. Diet means the kinds of food that a person, animal, or community habitually eats. Okay. Then the second one is very made up, based off of today, definitely. A special course of food to which one restricts oneself. That is a load of BS. Get me cussing up in here. The true meaning is the kinds of food a person eats.
Yeah.
That's what diet means. And first of all, that is where this article goes wrong. And they're shaming dieting, people that diet. The number one thing that has led us kind of where we're at with all this kind of body shaming stuff and people being anti-fitness really now, or thinking that they should be anti-fitness, is that we've been led to believe that diet is bad. That the foods that we should be eating and our bodies need are bad, and that it's torture. So the reason why 95% of the people who diet gain their weight back, it's not because they diet, it's because they have the wrong diet. It's because they've been habitually feeding themselves things that don't produce the kind of health our human bodies are meant to be at. This isn't like a cultural shaming thing. This is, how is the human body created? And yeah, we've got different sizes, right? You know, I'm 5 foot barely 2, but I'm going to take that all day long.
Well, they try and position it as like people who are contending for their health or who are in a position to address the unhealthy things in a way that unhealthy or being healthy equates to the quality of a person. That's not true. That's not what, no one says that. No. But they try and create that division of that. And it's just totally wrong. Totally wrong. And I believe, like, you look at a lot of the articles and a lot of people are catching heat right now. Like, I think in this article, maybe it was a podcast I was listening to, was talking about how Adele is now getting, she was getting crushed. I don't know how long ago it was, because she actually decided to lose weight. So people thought that, because they identified as her as being someone who was overweight at the time. So how dare her lose weight? I think they were saying, you need to eat something. It's like, okay, well, I got to eat something so you feel better about your situation.
Right.
Like, it's extreme and it's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And I totally believe that beauty's in the eye of the beholder. It's fine. But health is science.
Yes. Yes.
Right? The big science they talk about. Mm-hmm. Health is science. Mm-hmm. And I think in one of the articles, not this one, but it was tied to the podcasts they were referencing, was 40 to 50,000 people die a month. 40, 50,000 die every 30 days due to obesity related illnesses. And that's just the ones they count through coronary and cardiovascular and diabetes and whatever. Yet we want to get all upset about 50 people who die from gun violence or something like that a month.
Yep.
Now, yeah, it's tragedy, but maybe we should get bent out of shape over the 40, 50,000 dying a month in obesity. It's ridiculous that people don't see this.
Well, you've been with me for my whole story almost. And you know that I lost my mom. It was like 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time she passed, she was 65, but she was very ill, 4 years prior to that. Well, before she passed and before the early onset dementia and before the gastric bypass surgery, she was diagnosed a type 2 diabetic. And they don't call it type 2 obesity onset diabetes for just no reason.
Right.
And part of this article talks about that. And they actually say, well, we see people who are thinner than the obese or whatever they said in here, that are closer to being diabetic than somebody that is heavier than them. Okay. Well, yeah, you can be, I could be 10, 15 pounds overweight, and a doctor, based off of what I'm eating, that's impacting, again, the science, to your point, the science, because what I eat impacts my hormones, which your blood sugar is a part of that. Your insulin is a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could go into a doctor and he might say, you're getting close to needing metformin.
Mm-hmm.
Health is about the choices we make. And ultimately, there's consequences for all of that. Now, some of the part, like...
I was going to say, read like some of the paragraphs or something that maybe you want to address.
Well, okay. So this was printed around the New Year. So they were going
4 months ago. Yeah.
New Year's resolutions, New Year, new you type of thing. Which, first of all, why would you tell people not to better themselves?
Now, I will say, they're being in this industry for a long time, there are people who will prey on that. They're opportunistic and they will prey on that, and they'll sell people the lime juice
snake
diet
oil,
or the snake oils and all that. So I get that, but you can't judge you can't judge science of health overall.
Yeah.
Into the snake oil salesman, right?
Yeah.
So anyway.
They're talking about the New Year's resolution. They're saying people are doing this to avoid the social stigma, the economic stigma, the moral stigma of being fat or just not being as thin as they could be. If it were about health, we would be talking about access to healthcare. We would talk about the toll of discrimination against fat people in medical settings as well as in social settings. We would be talking about access to food and activity and education and economic security. We certainly wouldn't just be talking about people above or approaching a certain weight. So there's some good points in there.
Mm-hmm.
There's some really great points about that. Knowledge of health should be this free, accessible thing, which I'm going to say, newsflash, people, it is. You just got to do your research. People don't want to research things. Like
right.
you want to learn how to be financially free. Start doing the research.
Right.
It's out there.
And have some common sense.
If
it sounds too good to be true or too easy or just
someone's
you
selling
you
50 pounds of weight loss in one pill or in a bottle, duh.
Yeah.
It takes work. Part of the problem is that people don't want to do the work.
Yeah.
The work that comes with rewards, it's worth it. But part of the problem is they don't want to do the work. And so I'm going to say it. People have created this problem. Like, has it been a problem? Has it been a problem that some people are only focused on the exterior Yeah, but we as a society created that problem. We encouraged it. We said by giving certain things our dollars that we want more of the pills, that we want more of the quick fixes, that we're not willing to go to the gym or hit the road and go run or do the free things, We've encouraged that. But just because now they feel like this problem is here, they're talking about now all of a sudden it's the medical settings. I've never gotten any good nutritional or exercise advice.
No.
I'm sorry, but that is not what they're trained for.
No, they're not preventative. Let's solve the issue at hand.
They're not personal trainers. They're not, you've got nutritionists and dietitians in there, but it's sort of asking for a handout that you're not going to get. Yeah. That's not where you want to get your advice from.
So then I think they went on is this where they go into the blame game?
Oh gosh. I don't
even, it or no?
Somehow. And then this, I got a WTF here.
Well,
it's just totally
if you're
going to
read it, quote it. Make sure you know it.
Well, so it's this part of it says an anti-fat society, but then I'm going to read this. Implicit in the barrage of New Year's weight loss ads is the belief that thinner is healthier, fatness is threatening, and as some scholars such as Sabrina Strings has found, also linked to anti-Blackness. And now at this point in this article, I'm completely lost. I thought we were talking about weight loss isn't about willpower. And
about
now
anti-race.
You're telling me that I'm a racist. How? Is this exclusively an issue for Black people? No, because guess what? My mom, before she was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and before she struggled with fibromyalgia and had all kinds of other issues, she was obese.
Now, I will say that I do believe, and they might actually get to this I think they're totally out of line with that, but I think they do get to it in the article, and I will agree to a degree about economics does play a factor. Mm-hmm. I don't believe there's no such thing as a fat gene. That's just, that's denying science. Okay. So throw that excuse out. But I think class or economics is a role. So if they're trying to roll that in there, I'm good with that to a degree, because it is more difficult to get higher quality foods when your budget's lower. However, and I'll throw a big but in there, that it can be done because we did it. We were broke as a roach. And it starts off with simple things like don't buy sodas. You're going to save money and you're probably going to lose 15 pounds.
Stop buying the fast food that you shouldn't be spending money on.
No, seriously. And instead of buying a Snickers, buy a banana. They're 20 cents.
Yep.
So there is, so it's the
cop
out thing. So it is going to be more difficult. It is going to be a little harder, and it's really habitual. And so my point about my mom, who, I adored, the woman had 7 kids. Yeah. And that surely also played a part in her struggle with her health, but it was her habits that led it up to that point. And I learned those habits too, because I was raised in that family. And if I had known what I know now, then I could have helped her. Yeah. I could have changed her life. Yeah. And I know that I could have added some years to her life. Yeah. Too. Not saved her, maybe, but I could have helped her, because and seeing my mom's walk, and this isn't about, she was beautiful, whether she was, because she had gastric bypass and she lost 100 pounds. And you know what, to the one part of the point where they're using some truth, but they're not painting a full picture. She lost 100 pounds and she was still type 2 diabetic. But also I would walk into her house and find her eating icing. Her habits didn't change just because she lost the weight, because she had gastric bypass. Right. Your habits dictate your health. The reason why she coped with that too is she was a night owl. She didn't get enough sleep. She had 7 kids. It was a bad habit. She was up with babies a lot. She nursed 7 kids, We also struggled financially. We did not have tons of money. We had to
get food from food stamps at one point, you know, when I was a kid. You know, we ate the fake cheese and thought it was delicious and all the things. Everything was canned. Nothing was fresh. We ate fried chicken every Monday. We had red beans and rice.
That's economics, yeah.
Yeah. Well, red beans and rice every Monday. Fried chicken every Sunday.
Yeah.
Pork chops, you know.
Well, it's habits and economics, because there's people, like I said, there's a way.
And the other side of that is what you're not seeing when you don't prioritize your health. It's not about the exterior. They're right. It's not. It's about what's happening on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And very scientifically, is movement and nutrition impact the chemicals inside you.
Well, I was going to say, from a science perspective, there's nothing healthy about being overweight. Like there's no pro or con list.
Mm-hmm.
It's only con.
There's only con.
But the problem is the concept that this whole thing about you're perfect just the way you are. Because then they try and equate people who are contending for people's health, like us. Like, there could be people listening to this podcast that are getting turned off because we're confronting the elephant in the room. And that's fine, because what these people try and do is they try and the whole perfect the way you are. And then if you say otherwise to contend for people's health, the 50,000 who are dying a month, to say, no, I challenge that. You're perfect the way you are. Has nothing to do with the quality of you as a person, as I said earlier. It has nothing to do with your self-worth. It has nothing to do with your beauty. And that's what they try and say. It has nothing to do with that. We're saying that there's no association with health and overweight. So stop lying to people and allowing 50,000 people or 40,000 people to die every month with your bullcrap.
Well, in a very real personal walk.
I can't stand by as a fitness professional, and I just can't stand by and just let them
we're talking about it's a very real personal walk with your own personal health. And one that I had to go through too, from, as I mentioned a little earlier, was how I viewed health in my 20s versus how I view health now in my 40s is very different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in my
20s was probably more vanity.
20s, well, and because it's perception again. What I thought to be attractive, what I thought to be desirable or to be worthy as a woman. And I'm sure men go through this too. This is not just a female issue. You know, men have to deal with the magazines and the social media images and all the stuff, you know, the airbrushing, whatever, you know, it's there, it's present for all of us. But, you know, that thought I formulated in my head, and sure, were there some men in my life and some women even too, that talked in a way about people and about people's bodies that made also encourage that thought in my head that, hey, you're only as valuable as you look.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yes. But it doesn't mean that everyone out there that is healthy or fit or an advocate of health thinks that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're putting them all in this one box.
Yep.
So I had to take ownership of how I thought about myself and not blame other people and not blame society, because I was letting that in my head. I was letting other people's opinions and thoughts and things in my head. You know, the fact that, you know, I grew up with Cindy Crawford being a big deal, you know, and Cindy Crawford, she didn't do nothing to me. She was born 6'1" or whatever and looking like a supermodel, but I was born me. And that doesn't make me any less beautiful, right? Unless I let it. So after we had our fourth baby, I had to confront some old thinking, you know, and with my frame carrying extra weight and it taken a little bit longer for the effects of the choices that I was making, the good choices, the movement to show up, I caught myself looking in the mirror and at the scale and even passing up the shorts on a hot day because I was conditioned to look at myself and say, ugh, that's disgusting. And no, that's not how we shouldn't look at our weight or our size or shape as an indication of our worth or our value or what we're capable of doing. We shouldn't stop showing up in the world. No. But I also chose to say, well, if I love myself and if I love this one body, what are the thoughts that I should think about myself? And I wrote that down And I made sure I was changing that. Every time I looked at the scale, every time I looked at in the mirror, I picked up the shorts. I started wearing shorts more than I ever did in my 20s, and I really did learn how to love myself. But the other component too, if I loved myself, was how would I move my body? How would I feed my body?
Yeah.
Because motion, exercise, gives you a chemical response that is proven to be so highly effective in combating anxiety, depression. And I was making a conscious decision that if I love my life, I'm going to do the things that I can do to change my mood, to increase energy. And that nutrition does the same thing too, right?
Yeah. Go to the next point.
Okay, well, you might like
because I think
this
it's
one.
like 4 pages long, so I want to make sure we just hit on it.
So the relation between weight and health is complex. Natalie Ingram, a sociology professor at California State University, whose research focuses on the intersections of body size, gender, sexuality, and health, said that when health is defined and measured by medical professionals who tend to be white and male, that can lead to discrimination. So now I'm extra perplexed. Because again, I thought the title was Everything You Miss When You Think Weight Loss is About Willpower. And again, they've really not talked about willpower at all. So now they're blaming medical professionals.
Specifically white.
Mm-hmm.
And
male.
Damn white males.
What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know.
I mean, it's so perplexing.
I don't even know what to say about that without opening up a can of worms. Unfortunately, there's people who actually would read that and play victim and buy into it. That's probably the safest way to go with commenting on that. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. I think the safest thing for me to say is it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Again, who are we to say that there hasn't been some medical professional somewhere that really lacked bedside manner, right? And said, just delivered information in a not nice or empathetic way.
Yeah.
But also, again, these doctors and medical professionals are not really the people that you want to seek.
That would also assume that most doctors who are white and male are actually healthy weight because they're damning people who aren't, according to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know. Every doctor I've had, probably 80%, 70% of them are not the healthiest people.
Well, we know some. So if there's some listening to this,
so there's 3 out of 10. So I just don't understand. It's just not congruent with reality, at least from my lens and what I've seen in the 44 years of my life.
Yeah.
So unless I live in a different world.
Yeah. Well,
I've lived in poverty in New Orleans, and I've lived in the gems of Scottsdale. So I've lived on both sides of the tracks, so to speak.
Yeah. At one point in here, they lump going to the doctor with a sore throat or your diabetic issues. It's like they lump a sore throat in with diabetes. It's totally not the same thing. And they're like, oh, every response you get is you should lose some weight.
Yeah.
Because the excess weight that we do have on our body does increase inflammation.
Right.
And inflammation is a root of many diseases. Many of diseases start with inflammation, with chronic inflammation. I could see how people would get confused because there's bits of truth mixed in with denial.
Yep. There's a lot of finger pointing, diverting to just nonsense, in my opinion. I don't know. It's just a shit. It's just sad that people would listen to that and believe that and then play the victim and get into the there's nothing I can do type of mindset, and I'm perfect just the way I am type of thing. It was like, no, I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. No one listening's perfect kind of way. Like, it's just not true. And you're just, especially coming off of, and I don't even want to open up this can of worms, but it's like I'll tell you right now, what really pissed me off about this article. If you have people ignorant like this who posture this nonsense and this bull crap. There was another article that was similar to this one, which is painting a picture to be overweight and be this and just be you, and it's okay and it's fine. When we just come off of a pandemic, who was the most people who were affected by it? Obese. So basically, your big heart saying people love themselves exactly where they are and this and that, and it's okay, and you're perfect the way you are. You're okay with these people dying. Like, I just can't even stomach this. It really is, and it really annoys me. So that's why I'm like, I can't. I want to just address it.
Mass confusion. That's all it is. It's like everything.
But then us fitness professionals who call that out, now we're shamed as the bigot, or we're the whatever you want to say. No, we're contending for people because we actually care about people not dying by the masses and the tens of thousands of people.
Yep.
You, on the other hand, are okay with their feelings for a moment. When we're not saying anything about the quality of the person or any of that.
I'm not saying you can't live a great life, you can't accomplish great things.
None of that. But that's the way they'll posture it. And meanwhile, you're dying by the 500,000 plus a year. And it's just doesn't have to be that way.
Yep.
So I don't know if I want to read any more of this article, actually.
I want to end with this. She said, not everybody can or should be thin, and people have less control over their weight than diet culture would have them believe. So
I think there's toxic diet culture. Again, we opened up with that. So I agree if that's where she's going at, but I don't think that's her narrative.
So first of all, anyone that's really about health isn't going to tell everyone they need to be thin.
Yeah. Again, that's that diet toxicity.
You're pumping out what you think your perception of health and fitness is, or your perception of people who are choosing to lead that lifestyle.
Yeah.
Not everyone's obsession is with being thin. That's more of a disorder. That's more of you're looking at people that are struggling with being only focused on the exterior. But that doesn't mean that's everyone. A real health and fitness professional or a real advocate is, you could go scroll their stuff all day long. I guarantee you will not find one thing that suggests that they're saying that they're only happy if they're thin, or that other people will be happy if they're thin, and that everyone should be thin. Again, I'm 5'2". I have my own certain frame. I got a little bit of a butt. You like it. It's going nowheres, and that's okay. And I've embraced my body style. I'm not trying to be Cindy Crawford. I'm trying to be the healthiest me. I'm inspired by people like, you got a little worried about me. I think for a season you thought I had a particular affection towards 80-year-old women who are fit. But something that radically changed my focus in the last few years of my life and what I'm aiming for in my health, and why I do want to get up and go run a half marathon a month, and why I go to the gym 3 to 4 days a week. Well, one of the things is I've seen these amazing women like Miss Joan Wallace. You can follow her on Instagram. She's either late 70s or early 80s. I get a little confused. The woman is fitter than I am now.
Yeah.
But not just that. Here's why that's important. I see her running on the beach.
Yeah,
I see her lifting weights. I see her smiling. I see her living a fulfilled life that looks like so much fun in her late 70s, early 80s.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So maybe your perception, for those of you listening, when you do tackle and you're bombarded by this type of stuff and in your own struggles or your journey for health, is to look at it through the lenses of like maybe the looks of it. It's going to be there, but maybe that's secondary. Like primary for us, to your point.
Don't be Jones, so motivated.
It's
by
like
the
wanting to be able to
right
operate and be physically equipped to participate and have experiences with our kids and their kids. Because they say the generation now that's coming up is that are born today are going to live to be 100. Like that's going to be an average, like 100 plus. So you just think, I like to be around as long as I can to see that and actually participate, not just be a spectator sitting on a chair.
I don't want to be in a wheelchair.
So I'm just saying, maybe you look at it through that frame of mind, because that's the way we've kind of pivoted. Mm-hmm. And then with that, your body's going to resemble that too, to some degree.
When you choose health, what do you get? Does your body get healthier and fitter and stronger? Sure. But you know what you immediately get? You feel better. Mm-hmm. You get feel-good endorphins running through your body that there's a high statistic out there of people who struggle with anxiety and depression. Motion and nutrition alter your chemicals. Anxiety and depression are about the chemicals within our body. I choose health because I choose to work against anxiety because I'm not immune to that. I choose health and fitness because it makes me a more energetic, active mom.
Mm-hmm.
I choose health and fitness because it gives me clarity in my workday. I choose health and fitness because, Lord willing, I'm going to live a long life and I want to be out there running with my grandbabies.
Mm-hmm.
And when you choose health and fitness, it doesn't mean you're bad for doing it. It doesn't mean that you're not grateful for your body, but maybe we're the ones that need to shift that perception. And that maybe that starts with all of us today.
100%.
All right, friends, we hope you enjoyed this episode. And remember, this is your cue. You need to go out and create your new American dream.